All right. So first, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Jasmine Anderson, and I am the owner of J.Nicole. So I sell hair extensions along with hair accessories. But I decided I realized that I was starting to talk to a lot of people just about business. So with that, that kind of just threw me into this frenzy of being a business consultant because my hair extension company also provides wholesale. So a lot of the times I was talking to a lot of my different vendors and to my customers and clients, explaining to them not just hair, but the science of business. Because I can only be as successful as they are. And from there, everyone was just like, you should really kind of, branch out, start teaching other industries, because a lot of the information that you have doesn't just pertain to hair, but just people starting their own businesses, period. Um, so with that, I started this series called Be Your Own Boss, No More Excuses. Because we are putting all the excuses to the side because being your own boss, one is just it's necessary. Just want to start with that, it's necessary. I don't care if you have a 9 to 5, looking for a 9 to 5, the only thing and the only person you can rely on is yourself. So if you are your own boss, then you know that you will forever have a job. You may have to pivot and change to a different industry, sell something different, provide a different service, but you will always have a job. So you don't have to rely on someone telling you how to do your job. It's one thing to still continue to educate yourself just as you're doing now, but you won't have to rely on people telling you that you're no longer needed, that your services are no longer needed for this position. You're no longer putting yourself at a disadvantage where you have to wonder, what else can I do? Well, what you can do is be your own boss. And I'll kind of go through the steps of what it is that you need to do in order to start a business. Some things that I've learned, one, like I said, through education, I went to school for this, but also just I've learned from experience. Like I said, I've gone through a lot of the steps that I am going to show you all here. I'm going to tell you what worked or what didn't work. And what maybe didn't work for me may work for you. So we'll go through all of those little nuances here in just a moment. And you'll notice that I threw a lot of different quotes in here because I'm inspired by a lot of different quotes. So sometimes it helps me just visualize myself and put myself inside that moment. And then I'm able to kind of help, and it helps motivate me. And so that kind of goes into our first one here, which is, hold on, let me move myself so y'all can actually read this. If you don't sacrifice for what you want, oh, y'all, I typed this terribly. It says, if you don't sacrifice, it's supposed to say, if you don't sacrifice for what you want will become the sacrifice. Oh, nope, I did it right. Okay. And I think that's kind of self-explanatory. Everyone has an excuse. Everyone has one. However, at some point, you have to stop creating excuses, or you have to stop allowing the excuses to keep you from doing whatever it is that you do. You may have to modify the plan. You may have to change it. You may have to postpone it. But at some point, you can't allow the excuses to prevent you from actually doing something. Because everyone has one, guarantee you. So the first thing I always suggest to my new clients is start with the man in the mirror. Motivate yourself. And I know this sounds cliche. Like, what does this have to do with actually starting my business? But I am a firm believer in that if you speak positive affirmations over yourself and your business daily, by minutes, every moment of the day, then you will begin to picture success. And I'm not talking about you on the yacht. I'm not talking about you in the penthouse. I mean success more, I guess, smaller success. Like begin to picture yourself doing whatever it is that you're doing. So like I said, for example, and I'll use me a lot through this presentation, I sell hair. Well, I didn't visualize me owning a hair factory. I visualized me creating my labels and seeing what that label looks like on the hair. I visualized me making that first sale and the feeling that would come over me as I made that sale. I began to picture smaller things, but that will create success. So that way I know that it's obtainable. Like if I think smaller and just in increments, then I can visualize what that success will look like. And if I can visualize it, if I can see it, and if it seems obtainable, then I know that I can do it. So now all I have to do is physically do it. So first create that vision in your mind and motivate yourself, because it's going to be hard days. It's going to be days where you want to give up, and you're going to have to rely on that motivation to keep yourself inside the fight. So people often say that motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does bathing. That's why they recommend it daily. So consistently speak positive things and honest things. You may even want to say, I know that I am going to run into the barrier of not having enough funding for this. Well, go ahead and start visualizing that. So that way, when it comes to that day, it won't take you by surprise, and start visualizing a plan of action of how you'll overcome that. So that's what I always tell people to start with. And don't burn your opportunities for a temporary comfort. This picture here just kind of does it for me. You're stuck in a hole, and of course you're cold, so you start to burn a fire, but all you had to do was climb out of the hole. So how long will this fire last? Because at some point you won't be able to reach those top sticks for the fire anymore. And if you continuously keep breaking off those sticks of that ladder, you won't ever be able to get out of that hole. So you have to create sacrifices for today in order to get a better tomorrow. If you continue to only set yourself up for temporary comforts, then that will be all you have until that is gone, and you'll never be able to get yourself out of that hole, at least not easily and not without help. So now we're all motivated. We know we can do this. We have visualized it. I see my promise. Now we need to identify your purpose. So with this, we're going to add substance to your ideas. Write them down and make them tangible. Yeah, I have like a workbook here. All this is words. Like I consistently write, because I like to go back. I like to cross things out. I like to see what I have accomplished. I like to see what I need to do. One of those reasons because I just have a bad memory and I'm doing like literally 10 things at once. However, but it always is a satisfying feeling to see what it is that I need to do, and to be able to mark off or check mark or put X's next to those accomplished tasks. It lets me know that I'm actually getting somewhere, that my work is not in vain. So even though I may not get that sale after I complete all of this, I still see that I've done something. So that keeps me motivated. And then also, you can't argue with black and white. That's why I feel like a lot of people don't like to write stuff down. And I'm talking about when it comes to business, when it comes down to your feelings, your emotions. You don't like to always write it down because you can't argue with black and white. What's logical is what's logical. So once you write it down, and if you put on that sheet of paper something that sounds absolutely absurd, you can't argue with the fact that it's absurd, because now you see it, you're reading it, and you see it for what it really is. It now lives outside of your brain. So the pros of it living outside of your brain is that now it's trying to come to life. But the pros also, or I guess maybe even the con of it living outside of your brain, is that now you're able to actually see it for what it is, and you're trying to see if it's even something that's worth actually moving forward with. So some people don't know what type of business. So some of you all came to this thinking, you know exactly what it is you want to do. You want to sell couches. You want to paint art. You want to do hair. You came to this with knowing that. Some people don't know that. Some people just know, I want to create a legacy to give something or move something to my children. Or they're thinking, I want to begin to generate more revenue so that way I can bring more to my household, so I can provide more for those that I help support and take care of. Or it could even be that you're just looking, you're tired of the 9 to 5, it's mundane, you don't like it, And so you're just looking for a way to create your own success. You're looking for a way to make your own schedule. Maybe you have children at home that need, they have different needs. So you need to stay at the house, or you just like that freedom to be able to say, hey, I'm going to travel today. I'm going to do this tomorrow, and not have to necessarily worry about that 9 to 5. You don't like to be boxed in. So whatever it is, if you don't know what it is that you want to do, I always tell people, ask yourself, what are you good at? What are you passionate about? What connections do you already have? And then another one that I didn't put on here is ask yourself, what is something that has a problem? What Find a problem, create a solution, and you will have an award-winning business. I promise. It's really just that simple. I mean, of course, there's lots of different things that go into it, but it's really just that simple. Think of a problem, find a solution, sell the solution. If you hear people talking about the edges won't grow, create a product that grows edges. If you hear people complaining about, I can never remember to pay my bills on time, create an app that's going to be a scheduler or a planner for bills. Find a problem, probably one that you already have, and then create a solution to it, and then sell that. And it helps when it's something that you're good at. It helps when it's something that you're passionate about. Because like I said, when those days get hard, you want to make sure you're doing something that you actually like to do. And some people find passion in making money. It's not even the actual service that they're doing. It's just the fact that it's making money, and that's what they're passionate about. But find something that you're passionate about. And then if you already have connections, that just makes life a little easier. Because unfortunately, it's a world of who you know and not what you know. So you can be the most educated person in the world, but if you already have people that work at some of these entities or that are doing what it is or that you're doing, and you're able to infiltrate that group already easily, even better. You've just eliminated a future hurdle. And then I always say start small and progress. So I also manage a nonprofit, and I get to talk to lots of different people about what they want to do, what they're trying to do. And y'all have no idea how many people come in, and not to make fun, but just being honest. I have several people that come in, it's like, I want to own a community center. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. There may actually even be a need for that center in your community. I've heard several different reasons on why people want to bring community centers, and they're all equally amazing. However, but if you are starting where at ground zero and you're saying, I'm gonna start a community center, not saying that won't work. I would suggest starting smaller. Because a lot of the times the problems that you run into, you tend to find solutions as you begin to elevate. So maybe not the community center today. Start with just creating a nonprofit in a small group. So it could be where, if you could start a nonprofit just for young girls, and y'all go on field trips. And then from there, y'all begin to rent a space and you do a summer camp. And then from the summer camp, you now are able to lease a space that you have year round. And now you're doing the daycare in the summer camps until a point where then eventually it grows, and then it can turn into a community center for the, for the kids after school. But allow your plans to grow. A baby cannot be 0 years old today and then automatically they're walking tomorrow. At some point, they have to scoot, they have to crawl, they have to pull up on things before they're able to start to walk. So allow your plan to grow up. Don't automatically think that your plan is going to start off grown. And then I even put in here, for those that may have already read it already, I know we all want to be some version of Amazon one day. But again, he started selling books. That's all he started. He started selling books in his mother's garage. with like some, I wish I could find it. I should have put that picture here with like the words Amazon just like written in like block letters or something on a banner behind him, one desk, one phone, and he sold books. That's what he did. And now look at what he is. Now he's actually getting airplanes made to begin to deliver his product. He's selling a little bit of everything on a worldwide scale. So just so he allowed his idea, he allowed his business to grow with him. So that's something that I would definitely recommend to people. Start small. And then lastly, I don't care how crazy the idea is, because you had a purpose before anyone had an opinion. So again, there is no such thing as a crazy idea. When I first started selling products on Amazon, again, like I said, y'all do a million things, but when I first started selling products on Amazon, it was recommended to me to go to the list. And this is something that I help a lot of my clients with too, when they're like, I want to be a seller on Amazon. Well, anyway, so briefly, to kind of explain to you what most people will tell you to do, is that you go to the list, you look to see what are their top sellers, because they have like a top sellers list and they have different categories. So if you're looking for something in the beauty industry, you'll go to the beauty category, and then you'll see other little subcategories, and then you can look to see what are the rankings on those products. And you will be amazed the things that you see. I saw something, it was called earring lifters, and you put them in, something I had never heard of, and you put it like in the back of your ear, and it's supposed to keep your earlobe from sagging. Again, I guess someone had that problem, someone created a solution, and someone sold it, and it was doing phenomenal. It was making numbers, I think. And then I was able to find the product, so I went to I have vendor wholesale list and all that good stuff. So I went to that. I found someone who carried those earring lifters. They sold for like maybe 10 cents a piece, and people were selling them for like, you could get two of them for like $20 on Amazon. So that's like a crazy markup. And then of course, you always love to keep products underneath $20 because that's considered an impulsive buy. So people don't do too much research. If they see a solution to their problem, they're willing to throw $20 at it just to see if it works. So you were able to sell it for that. And then, like I said, boom, just like that. So there is nothing crazy. I have this little video here, this quick little video I'm going to show you all. I hope y'all can hear it. But even if you can't hear it, just watch it. Y'all, and I didn't make this up. Literally, this woman decided she was going to make a video about hip hop, on how to teach people how to dance hip hop. And this was in the 90s. Y'all saw what I just saw. People bought this. That's what's crazy. People bought this. So again, I don't care how crazy your idea is. All you have to do is put it out there. There is a market, and there is a demographic, and there is someone that wants to purchase what it is that you have to offer, as long as it provides a solution to their problem. And then that brings me to my next thing. So I don't care how crazy the idea is. Hold on. So then next, I say test your pilot. So when I say pilot, for some that may or may not know, I'm not talking about the people that fly the airplanes. I'm talking about pilot as in a test trial run. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure you research your competitors and take notes. Everybody wants to be unique. Everybody wants to say they different, and that's cool. That's fine. But I believe in what works. So don't always try to recreate the wheel. Allow the wheel to do what it's already doing, which is roll. So you may be able to add different things to it to make it look different, appear different, set itself apart. But at the end of the day, the foundation is the foundation. Don't always try to recreate the wheel. Go with what works. Follow trends. Look at patterns. If doing those challenges on TikTok is what's working for your competitors, then chances are it will work for you as well. if you notice that all the competitors are all doing this one thing, then there's probably a reason why they're all doing that one thing. And so, and for you being new and just starting, go with what works. It will save you money, it will save you time. And then perfect your product or your craft. So really put the time and energy into, don't just go, if especially if you're purchasing, let's say, a product and you're trying to resell a product, don't just go with the first thing that you saw. Oh, this is it. No, there's dip quality matters. You need to take your time and really look at the quality of the product and or in the quality of the service that you're providing. And I stress this because as you can see here, it's crucial for creating repeat customers. If someone sells you something broken, are you going to go back to them and purchase something else? More than likely, no. No one likes to purposely waste their money. So, but remember that 80% of your sales will always come from 20% of your return customers. 20% of your return customers will make up 80% of your sales. So it is crucial in order to have a successful business that you are creating repeat customers. Because not only they will be your voice, because what do they say? Was it word of mouth is still the best advertisement. So they will not only be your advertisements, but you want to also turn them into people that come back to purchase from you again, whether it's that product or another product. Once they create some type of trust with you, they will continuously have that same trust in you. And then survey your customers. So that's something that I love to do, especially in my pilots. After someone tries a product or something like that, I love to send them a survey. You can do that on surveymonkey.com. They're completely free as long as you keep it underneath 10 questions. And send it out to them and get their feedback. And make it anonymous so that way you don't necessarily, because unfortunately we can't unsee things and we can't unhear things. So once you see a name associated with whatever the comments are, you can't unsee it. So, and you don't want to create any type of negative biases towards that person, or you don't want to unconsciously think things about this potential customer. So allow it to be anonymous. And remember, you want to accept both compliments and criticism because it requires both sun and rain to grow a plant. And the whole reason why you're in business is to grow. So don't stop or stifle your own growth because you don't want to hear what the naysayers are saying, even if what they're saying is not right or incorrect. And also, let me throw this in here. I've always said that everybody's not lying. So if I get more than 3 people that say something relatively the same, even if I know it's not true, there may be some truth in it, or it may be the way that it came across. So if you're selling something and everyone says that, oh, the quality is terrible, it does not work. And it could all be, and it does work. It could just be that none of them had enough sense to put batteries in it. And you're like, all they have to do is put batteries in it. Well, you can't assume that they knew that that's what they should do, even though you knew, and maybe you thought it was common sense. So now, since you know that everyone is saying that it doesn't work and that's false, now you can figure out what the real problem is, and it's that they're not putting the batteries in. So now you know to put that on the back of the product or put it on the front of the product. Must insert batteries in order to work. It could be little things like that that could actually be keeping you from growing. And then you want to also find the right market. So begin to research different platforms. So you have things like Amazon, you have Etsy, you have your own website, so you have e-commerce, you have boutiques you can sell in, you have marketplace on Facebook, you have Craigslist still, OfferUp. Like there's so many different ways and places. You can go to flea markets and sell your products. There's so many different ways that you can sell or get this product out there. You have to figure out which one is the right one for you. It doesn't make sense to sell, let's say, software. Let's say that you sell tax software. I wouldn't recommend you going to a flea market to sell your tax software. you want to tend to meet people, or you want to begin to sell and offer your product in places where you know the people that will want your product will be. I wouldn't sell anti-animal repellent at a pet store. That's not your that's those aren't your people. That's not your tribe. They love animals, so they're not going to understand, and you're not going to sell anything well. But if you go somewhere else that whereas people that per se don't really necessarily care for animals, and you sell your product there, like people that might be allergic to animals, then now you're putting yourself in a better space. Or maybe even a furniture store. No one, I don't care who you are, I don't care if you even like pets, no one wants your pet to pee on their furniture. So maybe you'll think about setting up shop inside of a furniture store, trying to create a relationship or a branding opportunity with the furniture store to be like, hey, this here keeps animals away from it. It's a repellent for animals. So you have to make sure that you're thinking. You have to be strategic in the way that you think on where you place your products and who you're trying to put your products in front of. So remember, your 9 to 5 may pay your bills, but 6 to 10 is when you build your empire. So no rest. So if it doesn't make dollars, then it doesn't make sense. So now we're getting into, and I'll kind of briefly go through this piece of it, because this is kind of where, when I'm working with my clients, this is kind of the bulk of it, because this is what a lot of people miss. Well, one, they miss that researching your competitors. I don't know why people just assume hey, I want to sell something, I'm just gonna throw it out there. You got to research your competitors. You got to see what everyone else is doing, what people are selling their products at, how they're marketing, where they're selling it, because all of this will help you create your marketing tactics. But compile and analyze your data. So again, I'm always telling you, write something down, key something in, but you need to know this here is what's going to determine whether or not you should stay in business. You have passionate car salesmen that don't sell any cars. You have passionate mechanics who fix cars, but they feel bad for everyone, so they give it back to them for free, and they're not making any money. But money is constantly coming out of their pockets to pay for the products and to pay for the building or to pay for other workers. So there's you have to be in business to make money, unless you're a nonprofit, and even then you have to make sure that you're budgeting the money properly and that it's allocating, that you're allocating the funds to the proper places. But anyways, so you need to make sure that your passion project is not just a passion project, and that it's actually a business to create money. And the way that you do this is you compile and analyze your data. So first you want to look at what the cost is to produce the product or the service. You need to look at the cost, the profit margin. So the profit margin is going to be that space in between what you sell the product for and how much you purchase the product for. That's going to tell you how much profit you have on top of that. So if I sell something for 10, I bought it for 5, then my profit margin is 5. But of course, you'll put other things in there because you want to put in the cost of the shipping, the cost, the PayPal fee, the postage fee, whatever other costs that you might incur in order to produce this product or this service. So let's say if you're a spokesman and you're driving to these different places, then you have to also include the cost of that gas, depending on how far you're going, and your mileage and stuff like that. So you want to make sure that you include everything that you use in order to create that. If you're printing flyers at your house, you need to make sure that you're including the cost of the ink. You need to look at all of those different costs and then make sure you add them up, and then that's going to be how much it costs to produce your product or your service. And then that's going to help you determine what your retail price will be. That'll help you determine how much you should sell it for, because you'll be able to do your markup. So like with most construction companies, they add a 20 to 30% markup on whatever the base price is for delivering the service. So that's the workers, the materials, the marketing. Then they add 20 to 30% on top of that. And then that's how they're able to determine what the retail price will be for you all. Um, And so then you have the cost of selling platforms. So if you sell on Amazon, you need to make sure that you keep that in consideration. They do take a piece or a portion of whatever it is that you made. Same thing with Etsy. So if you're selling on one of these platforms that already has a built-in customer base, have to be conscious that a portion of that is going to go to them. Because again, they're in business to make money, not just to make you money. And then you have to consider PayPal. PayPal is going to take their fees as well if you're using PayPal. So these are all things that you need to keep in mind, especially let's say if you even, and then you need to keep in mind, what are those sales? If you're going to run a 20% sale, again, are you giving the product away free at that point? You might even be paying people to take the product at that point. So you need to make sure that you're always conscious of what your profit margin is, what that you have a competitive sales price or retail price. You need to make sure that you're keeping in mind where you're selling it. The cost of advertising that can get costly depending on the size of your business. If you want to run ads on Google, that's going to be extremely expensive. But it may be necessary for what it is that you're trying to sell. You're trying to run ads on Facebook and Instagram. Again, all of that can get costly. Even just paper, passing out flyers, business cards, all that comes with an expense. So you need to make sure that you keep that in mind. And then you need to figure out how much time you're investing into the project, or how much time did you have to invest into the project. Because again, I've already said a lot of us are working 6 or 7 to 5 or 6 to 5 or something like that already. So depending on what it is that you offer or that you sell, you may only have 3 hours a day to dedicate to it. You may only, so you have to be realistic and figure out how much time do I have to dedicate to this project, because that will determine your capacity. If you know you only have 10 hours a week to dedicate to something, it takes you an hour to, let's say you want to braid hair and you also work your 9 to 5. And so you only have 3 hours after you get off work each day to be able to braid hair. And it takes you, let's say, 2 hours to do a head. Well, if I know I only have 3 hours a day and I only can work Monday through Friday, so 5 days, so that's right there, 3 hours times 5. I only have 15 hours to braid hair a week. And it takes me 2 hours to do each customer. Well, you can only do realistically, you can only really do 5 clients a day. It takes 2 hours, you only have 3. So realistic, and chances are they're probably gonna be late. So realistically, you only are able to take on 1 client a day. So don't take on 2, because now you're creating bad customer service because you're not going to be able to complete it. So don't take on 2 customers a day. That's not where your capacity is at the moment. Or if you want to do more, you may need to hire someone else on to complete the hours that you're not able to doing. And so in making this decision, so in determining and figuring out what your capacity is, will allow you to determine what other costs you may incur. So if you're bringing someone else on, that's an additional cost. So that needs to be included in your retail price. That needs to be reflected inside that retail price. If you are, I'm trying to think here. So determining your capacity. So you need to know how much you can know. And that'll also determine if it's worth your while. So if you know that that's only going to, if you only charge $100 to do your hair braids and you can only do 5 customers a week, that's only $500. Is that enough money for you to put into this project? Do you see yourself growing from there where you'll be eventually able to quit your 9 to 5 and take on more heads? Or do you not see that happening? So once you kind of see these things on paper, that's when you're able to make some real decisions. So like I said, you can't argue with black and white. So that's when you're able to make some real decisions on what can I afford to take on, what can I do, how much I should sell this at, how much money I'm looking and forecasting at making if I continue to do this, and is it even worth my while? And then from there, you're able to, and then also take into consideration if you're like, hey, I'm trying to make $1,000 a week. Well, then you might have to charge more for your product Maybe people will buy, maybe people won't. You want to remain competitive, but at the end of the day, you run your business and you run it the way that you see fit. If you think that you're better than everyone else that's braiding hair, and you say, hey, I'm trying to make $1,000 a week, and I know I can only do 5 heads, so I'm going to sell my product at, what's that, $200? Because 2 times 5 is 1,000. So I'm going to charge $200. You are allowed to do that. You want to be priced competitively, but however, you never know what's going to happen. So you determine how much you want to make a month, and then you take that in consideration when you add that to your retail price as well. So now let's legitimize your hustle. So when I say that, it's because all of that information that you were taking and compiling and analyzing, that was based off of your pilot. So the pilot, like I said, is when you're getting your feet wet. It's a test run. I like to even call it a hustle. So when I first started selling hair, I didn't start with a website. I didn't probably even have business cards, flyers, or anything like that. Like, I wanted to keep my costs very minimal. So I only tried to do things that would be free. So I sold a lot on Facebook Marketplace. I sold on Craigslist. I sold to friends and family and by words of mouth. Because at that point, that means I was only responsible for keeping the physical product. I didn't have to worry about any other additional costs until I was able to build up my clientele. So once I was able to build up my clientele and make enough money to create a reserve, that's when I then created my website. That's when I decided to invest in the business cards and the flyers and all the other different marketing and doing the Facebook ads and Instagram ads and all that other good stuff. That's when I invested my money. Once I saw that what I was doing had the potential to work and it had the potential for growth, and I saw that it was worth my while and that I could make enough money doing this, so it was worth my time. So once I figured that out and I was able to figure out, what works, what didn't work, and what I liked and what I didn't like, and how much I should sell this for, and how much I should sell that for, and how my customers like this and what customers don't like that. Once I was able to figure out all of that information from my hustle or my pilot, then I was able to reinvest all of that knowledge and money into legitimizing my hustle. So that's when I was like, okay, now it's time to find a name for my company. And you want to make sure that you verify it's available. I understand you may have wanted to name your company, I don't know, bows and furs. I don't know. I understand you wanted to name your company this your whole entire life. This has always been your vision. How unfortunately, though, maybe someone else has already taken that name. So you want to make sure that you want to verify that it's available. And so there's actually a way to do this, and you can pay for it when you're actually creating your business license and all of that. But I don't necessarily always recommend that because lots of people create business license and don't do anything with it, just to be honest. More importantly, I say verify if it's available on social media and online. Those are because those are going to be two of the biggest places where people will search your name physically. So you don't want someone else to have the social media name that you already have. And adding a dash at the end or the beginning, I'm sorry, but that just doesn't work. It doesn't work well when you're trying to explain it to people. I just wouldn't suggest it. And it's because, and it's not just because of a personal preference. It's just more so, it's hard to market. You have to think about visually, will people even recognize that dash there? So, I wouldn't necessarily always recommend that, but you want to make sure it's available on social media, as well as you want to make sure that it's available online. So do a Google search or whatever name it is that you're looking for and see kind of how popular that name already is. Does that exact name already exist? Because at that point, then you're going to be competing with them for the SEO optimization, which is Google searches. As well as you are potentially risking that your customers thinking they're coming to you, but they're going to actually go to them. So, and you want to make sure that when you pick a name, you want to make sure that it's easy to spell. This sounds really mean, but most people, on average, this is statistics now, cannot read over a 4th grade reading level. So, with that in mind, if a 4th grader cannot sound out or easily read whatever it is that your name is or whatever the name of your company is going to be, chances are it's not a good name then, unless you are dealing with a very niche demographic that knows exactly what you're talking about. That's when you can kind of skirt outside of that fourth grade reading level. But outside of that, you want to make sure you keep it to a fourth grade reading level or lower. Make sure it's something easy to spell, easy to recite. It needs to be something like, you don't want people to be like, what's their name? I can't remember that crazy name. You want to make sure that it's something easy and rememberable. So that way they can, like, again, because word of mouth is best, so that way they can tell other people. Like I said, when a lot of my customers, when they see people wear these hair extensions, they're just like, where did you get your hair? Or who did your hair? Or, what unit is that? You want to be like, oh, J.Nicole. Like, it needs to be something easy to recite, something easy for them to remember so they can tell other people. And then also it needs to be obvious what you sell inside the name. People do not need to guess what it is that you sell from your title. Like, I don't know. Like, your name shouldn't be Bows and Furs and you sell furniture. No one would have guessed that. Like, so you need to make sure that it makes sense and that it's obvious what you sell. So that way it can bring people to you and it can lure people in. Your logo. That's something that I always tell people to invest a little money and time into, because branding is with symbolism. So that's why you see over here to the side where I have this picture and it says just do it, and then it has the check mark. From the way that check mark looks and hearing the words just do it, that belongs to what brand? Nike. We all know that. Do you see Nike anywhere on the picture? No. We have created with that symbol, we have given it to the brand Nike. You want to do the same thing. You want your logo, when people see it, to begin to know exactly what it is before you don't even have to put your name out there. They just see the symbol, because you may not always have a lot of space. And we tend to unconsciously see things and do things without even recognizing it. So people just automatically assume Nike is a household name, it's a good brand. So people just purchase it. They don't necessarily research it. They don't look into it. They don't think that, it's some site trying to steal their money. They already know, and they have brand trust and loyalty to Nike just because of what the platform that they've created for themselves. So you want to do the same thing with yours. So you want to make sure that you begin to create that recognition with a logo. And also it needs to be bold enough for people to identify from a distance. So think about social media. A lot of people, including myself, sell strictly off of social media marketing. So you get like a profile picture that's this big, that big, if that. People need to be able to see your logo while it's this small. That small. So it needs to be, so don't put a lot of words on there. Don't make it real intricate and have all these different unique designs and stars, and simple. Simple is best, and bold. So that way people can see it and identify it from a distance, even if it's just a little small circle like this. And then you want to keep it simple, because you need to also keep in mind that as your business grows, you will begin to put your brand in different places. You'll begin to create print. So you'll begin to do your flyers, your business cards. You might put it on your clothes. You might even put it on the little vinyl stickers you put on your car. All of these things. The more complicated your logo is, the more expensive it will be, and maybe even harder for them to recreate. So keep it simple. 2 colors is what is suggested, because typically that's what comes in a base price, is 2 colors. Anything outside of 2 colors is where your price will begin to go up. So keep that in mind as well. It was something else about a logo. And like I said, and if you can't make a logo, they have people for that. So like I said, I always help my customers, go find contractors and we come up and we create a logo together. And then because you also want to keep in mind, that's another reason I put this picture over here, is you want to keep in mind fonts. So you always want the font to match. Little things that we don't recognize, but you recognize unconsciously. Apple, they keep the same font on everything. And so even if you're not reading an Apple ad, if it has the same font, you're going to think about Apple. Like I said, with Just Do It, even if I didn't have that Nike sign there, a lot of people would have been able to, not just from the words, but if I would have kept that same font, your brain is wired to think of Nike at this point because of that font. So it's always best to keep the fonts the same. So keep the fonts the same inside the logo, keep the fonts the same on the website, on the Facebook page, because it's going to begin to create recognition in other people's brains, and they're going to be subconsciously thinking about your company constantly, or they're going to see things that's going to make them begin to think about your company. Create your social media accounts. So you may even want to change to a business or influencer account, which is something you can do on your Instagram pages, because all of that data is crucial. And so they have this thing called data analytics on social media, and you can see how many people looked at your page. You can see how many people came from hashtags, or if they came from you doing ads. You can see that. You can see if it's what percentage is women, what percentage are men. You can see the breakdown of the ages. You can see what times they're getting on. All of this is crucial in creating your marketing tactic, because if most of your clientele are women, then you know to create ads that are geared towards women. If you know that they're between the ages of 25 to 35, then even more specifically, you know to create ads that are targeted towards them. Or if it's between the ages of 10 to 15, then you know to make maybe more childlike ads, because that's who your target, because that's who has identified with your product or your service. So you want to make sure that you're gearing your ads to the people that want your product and your service. And then, like I said, and then if you're posting on social media, if you're looking at what times, if you see that everyone tends to look at your profile, or you get the most likes, or you get the most attention around 7 p.m., then that's when you want to begin to post your ads. You don't want to post at 9 a.m. when no one's looking at your stuff until 7 p.m., because then they're not going to see it. So you have to be strategic. And then also, you need to determine your business entity. So you may want to be an LLC, you may want to be a sole proprietor, you may want to be an S Corp, just depending on what it is you're doing and how much money you're looking to make will help you determine what entity you want to create. Sole proprietor obviously is the easiest thing to do. You just really need an EIN to do that, and you can kind of move forward from there. But you're also opening yourself up for potential lawsuits because they will be suing you. Versus the LLC, they'll be suing the actual business, which is a separate entity from yourself and your personal assets. But again, like I said, we can go in depth, way deep in that on another day. You want to apply for your EIN number, which is completely free of charge, and then you want to do your business license. That price is determined by where you live. So some places it may be $50, $100. I don't think I've seen any higher than $300. And depending on what you're selling, you may even need a business license in multiple states, or you might can get it in one state and be able to sell in multiple places. So again, that comes down to that research, and that's something that me and my team will kind of do depending on what it is that you're looking to do. And then you want to optimize your sale platform. So whether that's on your social media page, it's your Amazon, you want to begin to dedicate time and maybe even money into making sure that it looks aesthetically pleasing and that it's conveying what it is that you need them to see. And then now is when you decide you want to set yourself apart. So like I said earlier, you want to don't recreate the wheel, but you do need to set yourself apart. So like I said, parts of your company will be just like the other ones that came before you, your predecessors. But you also need to what makes you different. So find something that's going to make you different. Something that's going to encourage people to purchase from you. So one of the things that kind of sets me apart from some of my other competitors is that I donate um I donate 5% of every sale to, now I donate to an essential worker. It used to just be I donated to an individual or to an organization, but now it's to an essential worker. That's just because of the times that we're in. So I'm taking advantage of what's going on around us now. So I'm being current and deliberate in my approach, but then also I'm creating what people were going to buy here anyway. So they might as well buy here from a company that's willing to help others and serve others, and where I know that my money isn't just going towards helping grow her business or helping to just put hair in my head, but it's also helping someone else that's risking their lives for us during this pandemic. So that's one of the things. And then I provide free consultations for my, like I said, for my business clients. Because that's something that kind of set, and I provide free virtual consultations, and that kind of sets me apart from some of my other wholesale vendors. So you have to find something that's going to make you different and something that's going to make you stand out amongst your other competitors. And typically having something that has a cause. So like Tom's shoes, every pair of shoes you buy, a pair of shoes goes to goes to a child in Africa. So that incentivizes people to purchase Tom's shoes, even though the shoe is very ugly in my opinion. But tie your service or your product to a cause. That's always helpful. And then there's several other different ways that can kind of help set yourself apart. And those are things that I like to discuss with my clients, and figuring out what it is that you can offer or what it is that sets you apart. So that's a question you need to always ask yourself. How am I going to make myself different? And again, it may go back to, what is it something that you wish you could see other people provide? Like the first person that ever probably did the online scheduling for getting their hair done probably did amazing, because they provided a service that other people provided, but a lot of people were like, oh, I'm having such an issue with getting an appointment with them, because they're always busy because they're using their hands. So they have a scheduling gap. Well, the person, so that people are like, oh, this is amazing. And so everyone probably ran to them. So you have to figure out something that's going to set you apart. And again, that comes back to that basic question of find a problem, create a solution. All right, so now I want to ask you all a question. I'll give you like 5 seconds to answer it in your head or out loud. Who came first, Lyft or Uber? All right, for those of you all that said Lyft, you are the winner. Those that said Uber, I'm sorry. Try again next time. I answered this question wrong the very first time someone posted to me. I assumed Uber came first just because because they're just more recognizable. Like people know their name more. It has become a verb. I'll Uber there. It has become a verb. It's become so popular. You don't see people say I'll Lyft there. Like you hear people use Uber as a verb. They didn't them, and the reason people know them more is because they did a better job at marketing. So even though Lyft came first, Uber did a better job of marketing the product and the service. That is all you have to do. There's no such thing as an oversaturated market. I don't care how many people are doing it. You just have to do it better, or you have to figure out what's going to set you apart, or you have to find a niche or a target demographic inside of that. Find a niche demographic inside of there. So if, let's say, here we go. Let's say that Uber is, you want to come up with a version of Uber. Okay. Well, if you know that Uber is doing an amazing job at marketing, you're trying to figure out how can I break into that to even get people to use me, then maybe you should find a niche demographic or a niche audience. It might be that you want to cater towards people that are hearing or sight impaired. They got places to go too. So narrow down your marketing to just that group of people. Create a product and make sure that the drivers have different things in order to make life easier or make the experience more enjoyable and easier for those people that are sight and hearing impaired. Maybe they'll have braille things inside the back of the car. Maybe there'll be different type of safety precautions for those that might be traveling by themselves. So there may be more. The driver may actually provide assistance in getting them in and out the car, whatever that is. But you will have to you'll figure that out. But if something is oversaturated, you can still operate inside that space. Just find a smaller demographic that still needs that same service and then just cater to them. And that's going to make your product different. And then you just market. So word of mouth, business cards, flyers, collaborations is a big one. Influencers. That's how I actually create a lot of my sales. Find people that already have a large following base that are already influential to people and that people look up to, and get them your products and services and have them speak to it. Do contests. That's a great way to get people's attention and get those followers up. Education. That's what's in right now. So again, like I said, follow the trends. People want to be educated on how to do things and not just given things. So educate them. Social media ads and hashtags. Do not boost your ads. That is a waste of money. You need to actually do ads. So I'm talking like when you whisper into the phone, hair bonnets. The phone is going to hear you. And now all of a sudden, I promise y'all, I'm about to get a million ads all of a sudden on my social media showing me different hair bonnets. So use those social media ads. You have to go in there and actually create them. And again, that's something that me and my team work a lot to do. Hashtags are important. They're not as good as they used to be. It really depends on what you're providing. So if you are like a makeup artist or a hair braider or something like that, if you're providing a physical service, then hashtags work great for you. So make sure that you are utilizing them. Then you have the internet. So like I said, that Google SEO optimization. So that's where you go up in the rankings. So I don't know, some of you all may be familiar with it, but there is a way that Google determines the order of the websites they're going to show. And it's not determined by money per se. Like you don't pay Google to tell them, hey, I want to go on the third page. It's based off of how many people go to your site. So the more people visit your site, the higher your SEO optimization will be. So if you were on the 10th page, if you get a whole lot of people go to your site, then tomorrow you might be on the 8th page. And then also keywords. So when you're creating your website, you can put keywords on there, but it has to be organic. I can't just put virgin hair, virgin hair, virgin hair, virgin hair, virgin hair, virgin hair, virgin hair. I can't do that, unfortunately, because Google is smart and they're going to be like, no. But if I organically maybe create a blog and put it on my website talking about virgin hair, and we discuss virgin hair, and so some kind of way I was able to get virgin hair in there 30 times inside the blog organically, then that's going to help my SEO optimization. You have commercials, you have billboards, you have email blasts. And like I said, follow trends. So you have these different challenges that are going on. All of these things, and there's a million others, but all of these things are a part of marketing. I feel like maybe I'm going through this slide fast, but this is the most important slide. Marketing is going to be the most important thing that you do when you create your business or your service. It is going to be the most important way to stay in business as you create your product and your service. And you want to make sure that you're not just operating on one thing. They're not just marketing on one thing. Don't just market on social media, because what if social media disappears tomorrow? What are you going to do? What if everyone decides to unfollow social media tomorrow? What are you going to do? Of course, you'll pivot, but you're going to be working at a disadvantage. So make sure that you are working inside of different arenas. Make sure that you have the business cards and the flyers and you're passing them out at the hair shows or the dog shows. Make sure that you are also advertising on the social media. Make sure that you also have a billboard or that you're collecting email addresses and you're doing an email blast. And also always collect emails, because you can do this thing called a lookalike campaign on Facebook, which will do wonders for your social media marketing. And like I said, always be sure to collect data so you can know where your advertising dollars are being best spent. And so I say that, so like I always give promo codes to my influencers so I can know which ones are actually creating me customers and which ones aren't. Because it's not, again, because me sending someone free hair and even potentially even paying for them to be an influencer comes at an expense to my company. So I want to make sure that there is some type of return on investment. So the only way to determine that is, like I said, giving them promo codes, and I'm seeing which customers are using those promo codes, so I know which influencers are doing better and which ones aren't, so I know which ones to continue to work with and which ones not to. And then also always collect email addresses. Like I said, for those lookalike campaigns, it's because they're going to remember. When I say Facebook knows so much, just from your email address, they know exactly what you like. They know what you do. And from that information, they give it to businesses and allow them to utilize. So if I create a lookalike campaign on Facebook of my current customers with their email addresses, they're going to go out and find other people that have similar interests and likes as my current customers. And they're doing that all with just the email address. So that way you're putting your product or your service in front of people that want your product, that want your service, that are interested in it, and that like it. And then we have don't give up. Consistency is key. So don't expect results overnight. It will be a lot of work. I always go back to this when I read this once. It says, remember, Beyonce rehearsed for 8 months for a 2-hour performance. Just think about that the next time that you are trying to do something with your business and you want it to and you want it to work in a certain way. You have to be willing to invest the time and the energy in order to create what it is that you're in order to create something that's worth delivering and providing. So keep that in mind. You have to remain consistent. I don't care if you're only getting 3 likes today. As long as you remain consistent, continue to post, continue to improve the post, and try to use whatever little bit of data that you are able to pull from them. Use that information to create something even better, but remain consistent. Someone is watching, even if they're not liking it, someone is watching it. And eventually the more and more they see it, they may not need it today, but they may see it a month from now. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that company has that. Or they're going to remember, oh yeah, I'm always seeing some company selling something like that on my Facebook or on my Instagram. And then they'll go back to your page. So remain consistent. And find ways to keep your sanity or you will burn out. So that was something that I did terribly in the beginning. I would put all this energy and all this time into creating these projects and getting stuff done to the point where I would just be burned. Because like I said, I do so many different things. So I would just become burned out. I would become exhausted and I was just like, I don't care. I'm just taking a break. And I would take a break for like 3-4 months. That broke the golden rule of consistency. So I had to find ways to keep myself sane and to not burn out. So I found good apps. Finding good apps to schedule my content, to help me create hashtags and figure out captions and how to how do they make all those pictures look pretty, and find the different templates for making pictures look pretty, or even finding stock photos when I don't have content. Those help me out tremendously. And then when I do have the means, I educate myself. I go to classes, I attend classes, I hire contractors to help and assist. Like if I can't make a website, so I hire someone and put them on my team to help create websites, not just for me, but for my clients. The same thing with flyers. I don't physically own a print machine, so I had to outsource that. So these are all things that, so now I have a team of people that can do all of these things for me. And it took some of that burden off of me. So, and then lastly, surround yourself with like-minded individuals. And when I say that, this will make more sense when I read this quote. It says, a shark and a goldfish, and this is true, y'all. A shark in a goldfish tank will only grow 8 inches, but in the ocean, it will grow 8 feet or more. The shark will never outgrow its environment, and the same is true for you. So if you're influenced by underachievers, you won't grow. Upgrade your environment and watch what happens. So that's what I mean when I say surround yourself by like-minded individuals. If you are consistently hanging around and doing things and telling your dreams to people that don't see outside of what they're already doing, then they're not going to see anything better for you either. So include yourself in conversation. I was told once, being the dumbest person in the room is the best room to be in, because I can't do, as long as I put my mind to learning, I can do nothing but learn inside that room. So surround yourself by people that can help elevate you, teach you something, motivate you, encourage you, and just all around upgrade you, because you will not grow more than your environment. And that goes also going to capacity. You have to put yourself in the right environment in order to grow. So again, follow proven results. Don't recreate the wheel, and don't be afraid of trial and error. You are going to get some things wrong. You're going to waste money on some things aren't going to turn out the way you thought it would turn out. What sounded like a good idea in your head and even on paper will turn out to be terrible ideas. All you do is trial and error. You'll pivot. If that didn't work, try something else. That's why you don't put all of your eggs in one basket, and you diversify. You do the same thing with your assets. You diversify. You need to have money in real estate. You need to have money in gold and silver. You need to have money in the stock market. You need to have a business. You need to make sure that your income is diversified. And you do the same thing with your business. Make sure that you have little eggs in every little basket, and then see which one takes off. And then that's the one that you know to move forward with and to put the most energy towards and behind. But you want to make sure that you're still keeping an egg in every other basket, because when something doesn't work, then you'll try something else. You can't be afraid to fall. So I love this little quote here, and it says, what will you teach him? Asked books. Mistakes smiled and said, what you couldn't. Some things we can only learn by getting wrong. Um, what they say, a bought lesson is the best lesson. Once you make the mistake once, you won't make it again. Like I said, there are certain things that you can only learn by making that mistake. So don't be afraid of making it. Try not to make them, obviously, and try to make sure that there's always some type of contingency plan for when you do make a mistake. But just know that mistakes will exist. You will make them, and you can climb out of it. You can pivot, and you can change. So just always keep that in mind, and just understand that typically when you fall, make sure you just fall forward, so at least push you up a little bit further. So maybe it was, so that way it's not a complete waste of time or fail. So this here, and so lastly, I just want to say there will always be things to get in the way of your blessing. Please don't allow yourself to be one of them. You are being presented with two options: either evolve or repeat. You can stay inside this cycle if you want to. No one's going to force you. I'm not going to force feed you. I'm not going to, I'm not going to pull you out, because a person has to want to do this on their own. You have to see better for yourself. You have to understand that you are capable of better, and you can and will do it. Otherwise, you will continue to stay at where you are. And that's why when you see repeat, it's nothing but a circle. You're doing nothing but going in a circle. At some point, you want to make sure that you elevate, you grow, and you evolve. So without further ado, again, my name is Jasmine Anderson. Anyone that's interested, I forgot to put my contact information on here. Let me see if I can go to the drawing board here. And so that way I can give you all my contact information. So that way, if there's anyone that's interested in retaining my services, if you need help with your website, if you need help with creating your website or your social media, or you're just trying to still figure out exactly what it is that you need to do, if you want to discuss your plans, your ideas, trying to figure out what it is that you may need assistance with, then please email me. And again, like I said, I do free consultations. You can go on my website and you can sign up for a free consultation. You'll schedule it on there. If you want to talk more specific to what it is that you do, and what you want to offer, or if you're still trying to figure out what that is and you just kind of want to brainstorm and discuss what it is that you're good at or what you're passionate about and how you can turn that into a project, or you want to discuss that, like, hey, I want to do something, but I don't even have a whole lot of money, we can discuss drop shipping options. You can be a drone photographer. You can write you a book. Everyone has a story. You can put it on Amazon. So there's, just because you don't necessarily have the funds or the means to start something, that shouldn't keep you from starting anything. There's definitely options out there available for you, even if you only have $20 or $10 to start something. So don't allow that to be what keeps you from building and growing and evolving. But again, that's my information. So info@jnicoleextensions.com. You can email me or you can go to my website, www.jnicoleextensions.com, and you can look up, you can schedule you a free consultation today. And further ado, I thank you all for your time, and I hope that you all found this enlightening, and you were able to learn something, and I look forward to hearing from some of you guys. So thank you.